Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We're going to be unpacking a piece of source material today that is, honestly, as brief as it is incredibly powerful. It's this modern fable, just 3 simple sentences, but it completely flips our understanding of value and survival on its head. The text we're looking at is simply titled The Rich Kid and the Street Boy, and I can pretty much guarantee you, by the end of this explainer, you're going to look at your own resources in a totally different light. So I want you to start by putting yourself in a very specific mindset. Just imagine, for a second, being completely stranded in a totally unfamiliar place. You reach into your pocket and your wallet is gone. Your phone is dead. Poof. Your bank accounts are suddenly inaccessible. You literally have 0 financial resources to your name. Nothing at all. How does that make you feel? There's this immediate visceral sense of panic, right? We basically build our entire sense of safety around this invisible shield of purchasing power. We just assume, hey, if something goes wrong, I can just buy my way out of it. But what actually happens when that shield just vanishes into thin air? Well, here's the exact opening premise from our source text. A wealthy boy loses everything during a trip. Notice the phrasing there. It doesn't say he lost his luggage or, misplaced his wallet. He loses absolutely everything. We're talking about a sudden total vulnerability here. Think about the crazy tension in that scenario. This is a person whose entire existence, whose everyday comfort and daily survival has been entirely predicated on material wealth. And in a split second, during the trip, meaning he's already way outside of his safe, familiar bubble, all of that is just stripped away. He's left with absolutely nothing but himself. Now, what's really interesting here is this massive, unavoidable zero. This perfectly represents the wealthy boy's sudden, frankly terrifying lack of resources. $0. 0 safety net. We honestly often don't realize how quickly a safety net can just disappear until it's actually put to the test. Our source material forces us to confront this zero head-on. Because when you have 0 wealth, all your external advantages just evaporate. You can't hail a cab, you can't book a room, you can't even buy a meal. The story traps our protagonist at this absolute zero for a reason, to prove a really profound point about what actually constitutes true security. But here is where the narrative makes this absolutely brilliant pivot. On one side, we've got the wealthy boy who has just lost everything and is, let's face it, completely helpless. But on the other side, the text introduces our second character, a poor street child. Now, society traditionally looks at the street child as the one at a huge disadvantage, right? But in this specific context, that dynamic completely flips. The street child has no money, sure, but what they do possess is a massive wealth of practical mastery. They know exactly how to navigate the world at that absolute zero level we were just talking about. The sheer helplessness of the wealthy boy is contrasted directly against the profound capability of the street kid. Let's see how this actually builds across the narrative and reveals the fable's brilliance. Step 1. The wealthy boy loses everything. Boom, the crisis is established. Step 2. The street child intervenes. And Step 3. Survival is achieved through skills, not money. Notice the total transformation here? The street kid, who in literally any other economic story might be framed as a victim of poverty, is suddenly elevated to the role of the ultimate savior. It's kind of amazing. The street child doesn't give the rich boy a loan. The street child gives him a literal lifeline based purely on knowledge and capability. Let's break down the actual mechanics of this rescue based strictly on what the source text tells us. The crisis occurred during a trip, so we have this state of geographic vulnerability. The guidance came specifically from a poor street child. But the absolute most important elements are the last 2. The rescue relied entirely on skills, and it excluded money entirely. The street child helped him survive specifically by completely bypassing the need for financial resources. They didn't magically find a way to get the money back, they actually rendered the money completely unnecessary for the act of survival, a real game changer. And this brilliantly illustrates a complete reframing of a word we use all the time, survival. It's navigating a crisis using pure ability and practical knowledge rather than financial resources. This fable is basically teaching us that true survival isn't about what you have in your pocket, it's about what you have in your head and your hands. Because think about it, bank accounts can freeze, wallets can definitely be stolen, luggage can be lost, but practical abilities, your resourcefulness, your adaptability, your street smarts, those cannot be confiscated. They're intrinsic to who you are. They are the only true, unlosable currency out there. So the crucial point is this final, definitive message delivered by our source material. Skills are worth more than wealth. Let that just sit for a moment. It's a really definitive statement. It's not saying that skills are as good as wealth. It's not saying that skills are a nice little backup to wealth. It is explicitly stating that skills are worth more. When the artificial constructs of society are completely stripped away, wealth has a value of 0.
But skills, they retain their full life-saving value.
Which brings us to a question I really want to leave you with today. We've seen how the source material breaks down this dynamic, but let's turn this into a reflective mirror for a second. If your wealth disappeared today, what would your skills be worth? If you were stripped of your wallet, your phone, and your bank access right this very minute, could you navigate your way out of a crisis? It's such a timeless lesson wrapped up in a tiny, 3-sentence fable, really challenging us to cultivate the one currency that can never, ever be taken away from us. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I highly encourage you to go out and build those invaluable skills.